Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 14th of February, year of our Lord 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Got a big show for you guys today, the Valentine's Day special here at the Coping Hour. Hope all of you out there with a Mr., maybe a Mrs., maybe a they-themster out there celebrating accordingly on this lovely Valentine's Day. My girlfriend's going to be at work all day. I'm just going to be taking care of our son. She's going to come home from work. Maybe I'll make some dinner. Maybe I'll make some... I've been making a lot of chicken lately. Maybe I'll do some, do something with potatoes, too. I made some hamburgers tonight. We went to the grocery store, got some ground beef, put some salt in the ground beef, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of crushed pepper, a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, and then a little bit of minced onion. You know, you smash it all up, you make some patties, and then I caramelized some onions, put some cheese on there. We didn't get bacon. I was so mad I didn't get bacon. Put a little bit of pickles on there, brioche bun, toasted the buns, smashed them all together. So I guess we kind of did our Valentine's Day dinner tonight because when we sat down to eat, she said Happy Valentine's Day. I guess maybe we did. So does that mean I'm out of the woods for tomorrow? I don't have to make dinner tomorrow. Or we can just drink beer. Well, not we. She doesn't drink anymore. I can just drink some beer. We can just hang out. Maybe I'll clean I don't know. Should I work this out on the show? Should I spend the hour today figuring out what I'm going to do for Valentine's Day? Hope you guys got something planned for your significant others. Here's a nice little PSA since we're not really doing a Valentine's Day PSA, but here's a PSA. We just got hit with some snow here in Chicago. And then before we went out and ran a bunch of errands today, I had to brush off the car. And here's a little something out there. If you are living somewhere where you're getting hit with snow right now, please remember to brush off the top of your car. There is nothing more irritating to me than when you get on the freeway and people did not brush the top of their car off. And then so snow is just you get what I'm talking about here? Oh my God, it just starts running off the top of the car like it's sand. And then you got to switch lanes and get around that person because they're a jackass and they didn't brush off the top. I do not care how cold it is outside. Dress accordingly. Like put gloves on, bundle up, put on multiple layers. Brother, if you don't brush off the top of your car, I hate to say this, I think you're a bad person. I think it is a reflection of your character, the content of your character. I think you're a bad person. You won't brush off the top of your car. You're not thinking about other people. You're thinking about you. You're just trying to get this done as fast as possible. And so you can get back in the car, and then I have to deal with the repercussions of you being an asshole. You know what I mean? Nothing bothers me more than that. Did a bunch of errands today. We got a new season of Love is Blind dropping. Really excited for that. Needed something to hold us over. Everything that I'm about to talk about, by the way, might take a little bit too long. Please use the timestamps to your advantage on today's episode. We needed something to watch before the new season of Love is Blind came out. We had just finished another season of Hell's Kitchen. And so what are we going to do? Well, I wanted something Love is Blind adjacent, so we were watching on Netflix. It's called The Ultimatum. For those of you out there who watch Love is Blind, the Lachey's, Nick and Vanessa Lachey also host this show. The premise of The Ultimatum is you have a couple who, for one reason or another, one of them doesn't want to get married, one of them does, and so they stage an ultimatum, and then you all show up. It's like 15 people, however many it is. It would have to be an even number, about 14 people, and one of them wants to get married, one of them doesn't, and then they essentially break up for 3 weeks and start dating another person that's in that group, and then they spend 3 weeks together to figure out if they actually want to keep spending the rest of their life with their original partner, or maybe they find something new. It's the most masochistic shit I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just trying to water this down as much as I can. And, you know, you watch a show like that, or you watch like Love is Blind or something, and there's a very specific archetype of person that gets cast to do these shows. And usually it's a social media type. And I think that's what my main problem with these shows is like, they're not a reflection of like what the average person is actually like. You know, you get a very specific type of person. It just bothers me. But I would never be good on any of those shows. Maddie and I talk about this all the time. I would never be a good contestant, if that's what you want to call it, on like a Love is Blind or on The Ultimatum or Too Hot to Handle, whatever it is. Because I'm scared of the hoes. And so like when it's an environment like that, if there was a pool, I'm just going to spend the whole time in the pool. I'm not just like speed dating people. Dog, I'm getting in the pool. You know what I mean? And so then I was like, what if we invented our own reality show and we were the hosts of it? I was like, what does that show look like? I was like, well, we could call it Scared of the Hose. And so we were trying to figure out what does that show exactly look like, because you would have to get together a bunch of dudes who are like slightly but highly functioning neurodivergent types. Maybe you throw like an incel or something in there, like a little wild card. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Introverts would be the main thing. And you just like figure out like, but it's like, okay, so then you just group them up with a bunch of women and you figure out, you try to get them to like overcome their fears. And that's not really the show. And then I was like, what if you got a bunch of men who were all of the aforementioned classifications that I just said, but they were also confused about their own sexuality. And so then it's a whole new meaning of Scared of the Hose, right? And we get to the bottom of what their sexuality actually is. Maybe some guys in their late teens, their early 20s. Hey, this transcends time. People are confused about their sexuality well into their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So, you know, okay, so where were we going with this? I was like, well, what if we just got a bunch of those types of men and you pair them up with a bunch of the social media type of woman, the extroverted women, and then you just like try to get them to, you just figure out if they're gay or not. And Maddie's like, that seems like you're objectifying women if you're just using them to figure out if guys are gay. And I was like, well, we would pay them. And she's like, that does not answer that's still objectification. I said, well, what if it was sex workers? And you know what I mean? Because like that's their job. And then it's like, because also with the social media types, it's like, well, they're on the show just to boost their own shit. It's like they're not really looking for love in the first place. The objective is not for these guys to fall in love with women. It's just for them to figure out what their whole deal is, right? And so it's like almost like reverse conditioning, right? It's like or rather reverse conversion. You always think about conversion camps and like fucking electroshock therapy to like make people stop being gay, which is like, it's not a real, well, it is a real thing, but it's not a real thing. You know what I mean? And so we called it, the updated title of the show was Recon, which is just a shorter version of reverse conversion. Recon : Scared of the Hose. And the obstacle that we couldn't overcome was that I just kept objectifying women. And I could not figure out a way to make it so it wasn't that. And then I was like, but if the first season goes well, then we could do the same thing, but with women, and it will be called Recon: Scared of the Bros. We spent several hours trying to work that one out. I don't think we really got anywhere with it, but keep your eyes peeled for Recon: Scared of the Hose. I wouldn't even want to host that. I don't want to deal with these women. I can't do it. You know how many first dates I've been on in my life? I'm 26. I'll be 27 this year. One. I've been on one first date. You know how long ago that first date was? It's 2025 right now. That was 11 years ago. Almost on the dot, by the way. At the beginning of March, it will be 11 years since my last first date. I wouldn't even know what to do. I wouldn't even know what to say. I would like probably apologize for even being in their presence, and then I would leave. I would skip on the bill and be like, I didn't bring my wallet. I'm going to leave. Sorry, you have to pay for this. I wouldn't even make it to when we order drinks or food or anything like that. So it's like you wouldn't really have to pay for anything. Maybe just like, I would say to her like, hey, you want to scout out the bar? And if there's anybody else you like, it's probably better than me. You want to just hang out with them? I'm going to leave. I'm sorry that I'm even here. That's how it would go. So it's like if God forbid, if something ever happens with Maddie and I, that's it. That's it. For the rest of my life, that's it. I'm never going to have, which is just like, it comes down to like a mental and like a physical confidence thing. I just do not have any. Well, I do have it with Maddie, and I would argue because of her. But in this scenario where I do not have her anymore, then I would not have it anymore. I would not have it anymore, and then I would, maybe I need to wait for, okay. Okay, so Scared of the Hose can't exist until, not until. Folks, we have a bit of a bumpy start here to start the program, but we got a lot of hoops to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk about is the Detroit Pistons. We actually got an email that I'm going to use here as a vehicle, copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. This first one comes into us from Jacqueline. Jacqueline, welcome back to the show. You haven't heard from you in a while. Subject line: are the Pistons too good for their own good? Howdy, partner. With the Pistons going into the All-Star break with a 29-26 record, the squad is currently ahead of schedule for what most people thought they would be after what happened last season. If I may use a Henkelism, I would say that they are playing with house money at this point. While I am excited about the progress and think it's a good sign of the future to come, I worry it may be deceiving to ownership. We have a very realistic chance of finishing between the 4 to 6 seed this season, which looks very impressive on paper, but when you take into context the weakness of the East this year, and the up-and-coming Cooper Flag sweepstakes, there's not a lot of competition between the bottom two-thirds of the conference. My main concern is that Tom Gores and the higher-ups will see this and think the squad will be ready to contend next year and try to make a major swing that might improve our standing in the short term, but ultimately will cap our ceiling similar to what happened in the SVG era. Trajan Langdon has played his cards close to the chest so far and has focused on making improvements around the margins, which I feel is the right move, but I wouldn't be surprised if he received pressure from the higher-ups. I wanted to gather some of your thoughts regarding this. While I'm not married to the idea and think there's a substantial chance that I'm worrying for nothing, I can't lie and say that the worry is not there. Rock on, brother, from Jacqueline. And then Jacqueline also included a photo. I'm not going to put it on the screen, but it's of Tucker Carlson and Kyle Rittenhouse. And they yassified Kyle Rittenhouse, maybe face-tuned Tucker Carlson's pants to make it look like he has wood. I can't really tell what's happening here. And then a Twitter account, End Wokeness, replies, by God, that is cute. Kyle Rittenhouse, I made a joke about this the other day. I said, if Austin Reeves did guns on IG Live, I think people would parade him around like he was Kyle Rittenhouse. Could you imagine if Austin Reeves did guns on IG Live? Nobody would care. People would completely go over people's heads, and they would celebrate him. It's a funny picture. I was watching Tucker Carlson do an interview with Piers Morgan. I mean, holy shit. It was 8 minutes, and I think after 6.5 minutes, I tapped out, which at that point, you can't stick through the last 90 seconds. I can't. I don't know who I hate more between those two people. Probably Piers Morgan, actually, because I think Tucker Carlson is at least acutely aware of what he's doing, and I think Piers Morgan is actually just a dumb guy. They did mention one thing, though, that I will give them credit for. No, I'm not going to give them credit for. They just mentioned something that I do kind of agree with, which was, isn't it, Jacqueline, we will get to your email in just a second, but you opened this can of worms by sending me a picture of fucking Tucker Carlson and Kyle Rittenhouse. They started talking about how, isn't it kind of weird that we're 8 months removed from Trump almost getting his head blown off in Pennsylvania, and the kid who, I guess, almost killed him, was his name Thomas Crooks? Isn't it a little weird that we know fucking nothing about that kid? That's kind of weird. A little bit. Now, I don't know what the timeline was on when JFK got killed and, Lee Harvey Oswald. I don't know. It was 60 years ago. How fast did information travel about him? Was Walter Cronkite on the news the next day talking about this guy was a communist sympathizer and he spent time in Mexico and South America and he spent a little bit of time over in Russia. Shit like that. Were they covering it immediately? Because eventually that stuff came out about him, all of this information about his whereabouts, and again, that he was allegedly a communist sympathizer. I don't know. You think about all of the other would-be assassins throughout America's history as it pertains to presidents. We find out a lot of information about them. In the Thomas Crook stuff, it's I don't know. We know that he didn't make his high school rifle team because he was a bad shot. And that was the only reason we know that is because his former classmates said that. And then what else do we know about him? He had 2 contacts in his phone. That was it. His social media presence was it was kind of all over the place. He made a donation to some Democratic something the day that Joe Biden got sworn in, but otherwise was saying a lot of, I don't know, anti-establishment shit. We don't know that much about him. I'm sure if you go on his Wikipedia, all the shit that you're going to read, you're going to be I guess it's mostly conjecture. It's just a little weird that we don't know anything about this guy. Was it true that he, in his house, didn't have any knives or cutlery at all? Tucker may have mentioned that, which gives me a little bit of pause. I don't think everything that he says is wrong, but if he says something, I'm the odds are that I don't think that this is true. The overall sentiment of isn't it a little weird that this guy is a complete unknown? no, like word to Bob Dylan, but like not really. Don't know anything about this kid, and he almost blew Trump's head off. Tucker was like, oh, for all intents and purposes, it was a pretty good shot. Not really. I guess if he was trying to kill a random civilian that was in the crowd that was trying to shield his family and shot him in the head, yeah, I guess he was a good shot if he was trying to hit that guy. I don't imagine he was. Imagine that. I don't know if I want to make this joke. I'm still going to do it. I think I'm just going to feel bad about it after I do it, though. What if that's who the kid was trying to kill, was just a random guy in the crowd, and Trump just happened to be there? I don't want. I could keep going with. I don't want to do this because it's pretty sad that a random guy died. You know what still hasn't come out, though, and I believe this with all of my heart. That motherfucker, we all, I think, agree he did not get shot, Donald Trump, but we still haven't had it confirmed that what happened was a bullet, like, fragmented. It struck the little glass teleprompter, and a fragment of that glass is what sliced Trump's ear. And you're going to tell me, like, oh, well, how about that New York Times photo of the bullet whizzing past right behind Trump's head? The perspective on that photo is like, the bullet is unquestionably in the photo, 100%. But I'm like, that guy did not get shot, as evidenced by the fact that his ear was completely healed 3 days after the shooting actually happened. My fucking ass. Jacqueline, let's talk a little bit about the Pistons, because I think you bring up some interesting points. The Pistons are ahead of schedule. They are, as you said, 3 games over 500 going into the All-Star break. The first time that they are 500 or better by the All-Star break, I think since like 2009. It was either 2000, I think it was 2009 is what I read. And so you also have a Pistons team that, as far as their net rating is concerned, is like a top 10 team in basketball since January 1st. They've been playing with more heart and more cohesion and continuity and synonyms than we've seen from a Pistons team. I don't even want to say since the 2015-2016 season, when I think they went 500. I think they finished 41-41 that year, get swept by the Cavs, who eventually go on and win a championship. I don't even think that team played with that much heart. It was just that they had enough talent on the team to get to where they were. The 2018-2019 season with Blake Griffin, those motherfuckers, looking back on it, I'm not sure any of those players even liked each other. And the reason I say that is because I'm watching a Pistons team right now who is playing for themselves. Like, for each guy on the roster, they are playing for each other. And that is just blowing my mind, right? Like, there is legitimate concrete culture in Detroit right now. And JB Bickerstaff gets a lot of credit for that, by the way. However the season ends up, turning out, he's not going to win Coach of the Year. With the way that the Cavs have been playing, there's zero chance that it doesn't go to Kenny Atkinson. But I would be shocked if JB Bickerstaff isn't. I don't think it's crazy to say that he should be third in Coach of the Year. He's going to get some second place votes. If he gets even one first place vote, I'm going to be like, hell yes. Good for him, right? Cade Cunningham, for all intents and purposes, playing like a top 10 player in the world, period, this season. Asar Thompson, Rockets fans, I think you and I have been at odds a lot over the last 3 years. Can I say something that only Pistons fans and only Rockets fans will be able to identify with? Holy smokes, how awesome is it to have a Thompson twin? You want to talk about something that people don't know what that feels like? That's the coolest thing in the world. They are two of the most well-conditioned and athletic players that we have in the NBA right now. The most physically driven players that we have in the NBA right now that aren't named like LeBron James. And they're both, are they 21? Even if there's no way they're even 21. However old they are, right? And it's like, this is the case also with both of them. They are very opportunistic scorers, both Asar and Amen. And in the past, that's kind of been annoying. But this season, again, for both of them, but for all intents and purposes, Asar, because that's who we care about here right now, they are creating more opportunities for themselves than they have at any other point in that they've only been in the league for, a year and a half now, right? So that's been really interesting to see. Additionally, Malik Beasley is one of the higher value free agency pickups that the Pistons have gotten in, maybe since Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose provided a lot of stability and quality minutes for the Pistons. I think that's something that's kind of going to get lost in the fold of like his whole career, is how good he was for Detroit for like that one season. I think he was here for like a year and a half, but then he got traded to the Knicks. It was a whole thing. But in that first year that Derrick Rose was like in Detroit, he was awesome. It was just so cool to see. And that was sort of on the, you know, the back half of the back nine of Derrick Rose's career, and him just kind of hopping around to a bunch of different teams and I don't know, just being awesome. Should we be worried, though, is what the genesis of this email. Because in the past, what Jacqueline is pointing out here is anytime the Pistons have shown even a fraction of promise or hope, Tom Gores, the owner for the Pistons, wants to capitalize on that. And he wants the Pistons to make a big swing and try to do something that they're not ready for yet. The example that Jacqueline used here was Stan Van Gundy. Now, first of all, something we mentioned on the shoot-around in the most recent episode that will be available at the beginning of next week was, you know what's kind of a lost art in the NBA? You just don't really see this anymore, is guys getting hired to be a head coach and a president of basketball operations. Like, you're not just in control of the personnel, you're also in control of, like, how to use them. You know what I mean? Getting both of those jobs. You don't see that anymore. Now, the reason you don't see that anymore is because it doesn't work. It's, like, almost never worked. Almost never worked. And for the people that it has worked for, anomalies and yada, 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 right? But more often than not, it doesn't really work. Well, Detroit had that with Stan Van Gundy. And the move that we would be talking about here is Blake Griffin, because we saw a Pistons team that was, like, fine. Like, they were okay. They were sort of in that. There were a few years where the Wizards, the Pistons, and the Magic all existed. Maybe the Hornets, you know, every couple of years too, existed in purgatory. 35 to 41 wins every single season, but that was it, right? And so the Pistons in 2017, 2018 are coming off of a season or two ago. You know, we mentioned them going to the playoffs and losing to the Cavs. Andre Drummond, we're still pretending that that's a thing. You got Reggie Jackson. You got Avery Bradley. You know, people really, really liked Avery Bradley for like 15 games in Detroit, and then he got hurt, and then he got traded. He got traded to the Los Angeles Clippers with Tobias Harris, and who else was in that deal? I know Bryce Johnson got sent to Detroit. Was Willie Reed in there? I think I'm making that up. He wasn't in there. But Blake gets sent to Detroit. Stan Van Gundy was on the last year of his contract. For everything that we've heard behind the scenes, it seemed like maybe Tom Gores had a gun to Stan's head and was like, dance, like, do something. You have to do something. Show me that you are worth a contract extension. They go and get Blake Griffin, one of the more underrated, like, that guy was available trades that we've seen in the last, 10 some odd years. Blake Griffin, you know, we don't need to redo the timeline, but went from having a fake jersey retirement in Staples Center, you're going to be a Clipper for life. The guy could have gotten $200 million from Phoenix, but he stayed in Los Angeles. And then 4 months later, he's a Detroit Piston. When you talk about it being a business, that's the kind of business it is, right? Not what just happened in Dallas with Luka. The Blake Griffin shit is just like, damn, it's a cold business. You know what I mean? And so I'm not going to say that didn't work, but it did not increase the Pistons' chances of being something that they already weren't, which again was that 35 to 41 win purgatory. The year that they went to the playoffs and lost to Milwaukee in 18-19, I think they were, again, either 41 and 41, maybe like 40 and 42 or something like that, right? You didn't crack over 500 though. And so the question now becomes, should we be worried as Pistons fans that something like that is on the horizon here? I don't think worried is the word. I would argue maybe like optimistic, because Tom Gores is a shitty owner. He sucks. Most of us don't really like him. The guy loves cocaine and overcharging prison inmates for, you know, outside calls, and with Securus, his little telecommunications company. All right, we all don't like him. He loves throwing T-shirts into the crowd and drinking his little tequila sodas and not going to the games, for sure. But a guy like him, who has made all of the aforementioned moves in the past because he just wants the team to be good, he just wants to, you know, own a good team. You look at the contract that he gave Monty Williams, which, yes, in retrospect is atrocious, But at the time, you would be lying to yourself if you said that you weren't incredibly enthusiastic about it. Because what the Pistons do have is an owner that is willing to spend money. Now, that money, again, doesn't always go to the best places, but he's still willing to do it. And even while the Pistons were bottoming out at like 37 wins, I don't know, he wants to put out a competitive product. And so, when a couple years ago, Detroit finally commits to this rebuild, and they traded Andre Drummond to Cleveland. That was the first domino that was like, holy shit, they're actually going to do it. The Pistons are actually going to do the thing where they suck for a few years and just try to figure it out, right? I thought that was pretty big of him, being Tom Gores, because we had been shown how hard it was for him to commit to something like that, right? And something that I've talked about a lot this season with the Pistons is we spent a lot of years in the let's wait phase of this rebuild, and I feel like now we're in the and see portion of the rebuild, right? And what comes with that is, to Jacqueline's point, a team that is ahead of schedule, that is performing not just marginally, but way better than anybody thought that they were going to be this season. Cade Cunningham is an all-star, and he's in the three-point contest. I don't know how that's going to go. Maybe he's going to win. Put 5 on it, folks. Cade Cunningham to win the three-point contest? I don't know. Maybe to win All-Star MVP? I don't know. But those things are happening. We're watching it happen in real time, right? And so if there was ever a time for the Pistons to maybe go after someone, I don't think it's crazy that this offseason, I don't know. And, I always say the Devin Booker thing, and I always say the thing about we need this pick to Minnesota that Minnesota owns to convey. So that way the Pistons can actually have the flexibility. They will be afforded the opportunity to move around some capital, some first round picks to go get that bigger fish. And you can do the Devin Booker thing, or more likely, I think that whoever it is that the Pistons could hypothetically get in the summer that would bump them up a tier in the hierarchy, the food chain of the NBA, I don't think we know who that is yet, to be honest with you, because that's just kind of how the NBA goes. The guy that we as fans are going to be talking about in July is like a holy shit, we're throwing together fake trades. We have no idea that guy is going to be available right now. You know what I mean? But 5 months from now, something's going to happen. Something weird's going to happen. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be Jaylen Brown, but just hypothetically, right? It could be like somebody of Jaylen Brown's. But I don't even want that to happen because I don't want us to, I talk about Tom Gores spending money. Not that kind of money though. You know what I mean? Like, Lauri Markkanen would be a good one, right? Been very softly shopped over the last year and a half in Utah. But this season, those rumors have kind of quieted down. That's a guy that would make a lot of sense. Now, I think what the fear here is, if you're a Pistons fan, is you finally have a team that is playing with the aforementioned continuity. And the first thing that you're going to do when that team finally figures it out is rip that core apart. Yeah, that's the part that you would have to be worried about, at least a little bit, right? Because you even want to look at the Lakers right now. We're going to talk a little bit about them in just a minute. But, okay, so the Mark Williams deal gets nixed. If I'm a Pistons fan right now, which I am, I'm looking at like the end of June or the beginning of July, when the Lakers are still trying to figure out what they want to do at center. They would look at Detroit and they would say, do you want Cam Reddish and Dalton Connect and the 2030 unprotected first, whatever it was? I don't know. What does Trajan Langdon think about that? I don't think we know. I don't think we have any idea, because Troy Weaver made it pretty clear early on what his guy was, right? The type of dude that Troy Weaver liked. He loved centers. He loved big men. I think at one point the Pistons had like 6 centers on their roster. The first guy that he ever brought into Detroit, the first transaction Troy Weaver ever made, was bringing in Justin Patton. That didn't work out. We haven't really been able to figure out what Trajan Langdon's deal is yet, because again, to Jacqueline's point, has been very meticulous about playing those cards and letting us figure out. And everything that I'm saying about being worried about the Pistons, decimating their young core, I think we just saw at the trade deadline that they're not going to do something just to do something. which is what we've seen in the past with Tom Gores, right? Is doing something just to do something because we think it might improve our chances, even if it's marginal at best, to win, not even win a playoff series, to win a game in the playoffs, to lose 4-1, right? I think standing pat at the trade deadline, even though on this show I think I maybe seemed a little bit bummed about it, I think it was just because I convinced myself that something was going to happen. It was the right thing to do, to not really do anything, just get a couple of second-round picks, and that was kind of, I don't know, Dennis Schroeder. Oh, wow, Dennis Schroeder. Impressed. As of this taping, the Detroit Pistons are 6th in the Eastern Conference, and what separates them between the 6th and the 4th seed, 2 games. It's just 2 games. Indiana's at 4. Milwaukee at 5. They're a game back of the 4th seed. And the Detroit Pistons at 6th. Again, 2 back. Now, the craziest part is between 6 and 7, Orlando right under Detroit, it's 2.5 games. So there's like a little bit of wiggle room there. The Pistons got a damn get-out-of-jail-free card playing Chicago on a back-to-back going into the All-Star break. That's 2 free wins. Thank you, NBA. Thank you. When the Pistons needed it most, here's 2 games where you just get to play a fucking JV team, and you can pad those stats a little bit. And rest assured, everybody on the Pistons did. So I don't know if the season ended right now. Who are the Pistons? Who are they playing? Who are the Pistons playing? The Knicks. Oh, well. Yeah, not that. Yeah, I don't want that. The ideal world, if you are a Pistons fan, in some order, it ends up being Pacers, Pistons in round 1. 4 or 5 seed, whatever it ends up being. That is the best case scenario, because that is the one team that I have reconditioned myself to hate. But in like a really fun, competitive way, where I don't like hate dudes on the Pacers. I just hate them like on aggregate. You know what I mean? I'm never going to hate Tyrese Halliburton, but when I play him, yeah, I don't like him. And George Blaha, by the way, also, and Greg Kelser also really, really, really do not like Tyrese Halliburton. Should you be worried, to put a bow on this whole thing? Maybe I've rambled a little bit too much on it. No, I don't think you should be worried. I think you should be keeping an eye on the market, and then whoever that player ends up being that you think the Pistons could go after, then maybe some alarm bells will go off. Or again, maybe it's another Blake situation. Maybe it's a Luka situation, not of that caliber, but just the principle of you didn't even know this guy was available, and then we didn't even get to see the reports kind of leaking out there that like, hey, this guy's on the market, and then 2 days later it happens. No, like sometimes this stuff just happens under your sometimes it just happens under your nose, and you have no idea. So I'm not worried about it. Pistons fans, you want to sound off on that one? I don't know. Let's see. I'm just focused on getting this season in the can first, but also just do the Devin Booker thing, brother. Up next, copingoursubs@gmail.com is spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. This one comes into us from Oliver. Oliver, welcome to the show. Potentially welcome back. Subject line, the Lakers are fucking scary. Hey, Nick. Wondering what you think of this new look Lakers team. No NBA team ever has had 2 floor generals of this caliber, let alone arguably the 2 top 5 floor generals ever. Imagine being on the opposing team, seeing LeBron finally going to the bench and saying, phew, we can go on a run now. No, Luka motherfucking Doncic checks in now to take over. I think a lot of people are saying the roster is constructed weirdly and it doesn't fit, but they have looked so insanely good. Can they go all the way? There was something on Get On. Thank you very much for the email, brother. There was something on Get Up this morning where, whatever ESPN's computer, however they, calculate this stuff. They were like, the Lakers right now have the second best odds to get to the NBA Finals. Not the Western Conference Finals, to get to the NBA Finals. Brian Windhorst drops a bar. He goes, a computer does not have to defend Nikola Jokic. He's right. He's right. Because Nikola Jokic having the best offensive season that we've ever seen from a player in NBA history, ever. Probably ever, right? But the Lakers, I don't know, dude. Are we getting too ahead of ourselves if we say, holy shit? I don't think it's, if you just want to say holy shit when you talk about the Lakers, I don't think that's crazy right now. Look, we were all watching that Utah Jazz game on Monday night. Didn't they just play them again the other night too? They had a little home and home with them in the span of a week. Bronny James hitting a little really cool for him. Yeah, man, the team looks reinvigorated. LeBron is like a whole, it's like there's a new gear to his whole thing. Another thing that was talked about on the shoot-around, I think it was Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, that said this. Maybe it was Alex, I don't remember. But it was like, do you think that LeBron had subconsciously punted on the idea that he was ever going to win a championship? And even though he was still playing and was still able to play at a medium to high level, puts up 40 against the Warriors about a week and a half ago, he had kind of given up on that and was like, I'm just going to score as many points as I can and play with my kid. And, it just kind of is what it is. And then suddenly Luka falls into his lap and there's a reinvigoration from LeBron James because he's like, oh my God, we still have a window here, right? They've played, 2 games with Luka. It's been apparent so far. It's been clear so far that something is happening in Los Angeles where we're like, oh my God. And then you also have to factor in the fact that Austin Reeves is playing out of his mind. Which, by the way, so was LeBron before Luka got here. The month of February, I have them in front of me. Maybe I could have pulled this up, but this is just coming to be in real time. The numbers that LeBron is putting up in the month of February are insane. They're absurd. And so you look at a guy like Austin Reeves, and he starts wearing a headband. And you go, nah, Austin Reeves, you can't wear a headband. And then he puts up 45, 7, and 7. Austin Reeves, you can wear the headband. Okay, all right, yeah, you can put the headband on. He's handling the ball. He's initiating shit, and he's doing it. It's Austin Reeves. I'm like, you have LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves. He's been awesome. And so Luka just like throwing a bunch of lobs to Jackson Hayes. All right, this is the best thing in the world that's ever happened to Jackson Hayes' career. And I also thought it was funny. We talk about the Mark Williams trade getting nixed. And so then the Lakers are scrambling. This is like maybe not a lawsuit, but one of the sides is looking into that. I mean, there's a soft investigation happening. Like, what the hell actually happened here? I don't know. I'm not going to start talking about it because clearly I don't remember what the actual story was. But, okay, so then it's like, well, the Lakers, there's no contingency plan because we did this right at the wire for the trade deadline. Trade deadline's over, and 3 days later, this trade didn't actually happen. You know what I mean? So, okay, so now we just don't have a center. We have Dalton Knecht back. We have Cam Reddish back, which is very cool, but we don't have a center. So, okay, let's wait for the buyout market. Let's look at free agency. They scrap the buyout market, and they're just like, let's go get Alex Len. Motown Noah birthday twin Alex Len. Oh. Okay. Oh, he's just around? Oh, okay. Lakers Reddit was like, wow, what a veteran. I was like, he's a guy. I don't know that Alex Len is really going to... Maybe I'll be wrong about this. I talk about the entire roster seeming like they're just all completely different players. Maybe Alex Len will just be a completely different player. Had some... I don't know. Was fine for Sacramento. Wasn't he horrible for Atlanta? That's how I remember it, at least. Which is a whole nother thing. Trae Young is never going to play after this season. He's never going to play in Atlanta again, right? And that's not a candidate for Detroit. I don't need to think about that. Is Kyrie a candidate for Detroit? I'm sorry, not for Detroit, for the Lakers? You guys see that? You guys see him switching his Twitter header or his like profile picture to like Lakers colors? And I thought it's about damn time. I said it's about time that this happens. Let's kick this thing into high gear. What was it, 2.5 months ago that I was sitting on this show? I was sitting on the shoot around, and I'm talking about, okay, so this Jimmy Butler trade is probably going to happen. I was like, it's weird that he hasn't had like this late stage crash out yet, though. That Jimmy Butler just hasn't gone berserk and tried to destroy the franchise yet. Because if he's going to get traded, that's probably going to happen. Folks, rest assured, as I'm sure you've been aware over the last couple of, not months, but, about a month and a half. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, there was a lot of shit that was flying around between Jimmy and the front office, everything like that. Okay, so that ended up happening. Well, now I'm sitting here wondering, Kyrie Irving was playing in Dallas because Luka was there. And Kyrie Irving is also somebody who, in the past, has not shied away from just like completely destroying a franchise. And the second that he's unhappy, he will let you know that he's profoundly unhappy. It's like he bottles it up for too long, and then he snaps. Something will happen, and then he just goes 0 to 100, right? With the Jimmy shit, it's like a slow burn. It's like a little sizzle. It's like what's a good slow burn horror movie? It Comes at Night. That movie sucks. I did not care about that movie at all. It's cool, though. The aspect ratio gets tighter and tighter and tighter as the movie goes along, and you don't even notice it until suddenly there's like 6 pixels on the screen. What the hell is happening? There's a nice little slow burn for you. Kind of a little slow burn. Where's the Kyrie Irving? Like, they just traded Luka Doncic and crickets from Kyrie Irving? Of anybody, you would think that he would have something to say about this. You know what I mean? And then I think it's starting to happen. I don't actually think he's going to go to the Lakers, by the way. That would be insane. You want to talk about malpractice? Trading 2 of your best guys to the Lakers? Because at that point, who would they even get? I don't even want to entertain this because this is the most useless straw man of all time because it's not going to happen. But it is interesting to see this sort of Kyrie Irving. Oh, there he is. You know, he had kind of reverted back to original Cleveland Kyrie, where he's just like a really chill guy. I think Kyrie very much moved back into the good graces of the zeitgeist that everybody just went back to thinking, that's Uncle Drew. You know, he's cool. He's awesome. He goes on Kai Cenat's stream around Christmas time, and everybody's like, man, Kai is just so cool. Well, I meant Kyrie Irving. Kai Cenat, people also think is very cool. I don't know. Kyrie, one more time. Just one more for the road. At this point, we're all going to be on your side. Like, you can burn sage at the arena if you want. Nobody's going to give you shit for it this time, right? We would all be on his side. I would be here, right? It would also just be funny. Maybe this is all that it is he just publicly roots for the Lakers. And, like, maybe they play each other. He's not going to, like, throw the game. You know what I mean? But it would just be funny if otherwise he's just like... Because at this point, if you're a Maverick, I don't want to say, like, what are you playing for? But, like, who the fuck cares? Who cares anymore? Anthony Davis. They're clearly too afraid to mention that Anthony Davis is just done for the year and needs surgery. They're terrified to mention that. I think we're all kind of on the same page with that. So at this point, it's out with Lively out. Gafford's hurt, all this shit. Klay Thompson is just like, so why did I come here? I could have been on the Lakers. That's who I don't think we've focused enough on in this whole thing. And Klay has been, I saw the quote where he thought that Max Christie was Doug Christie's kid. It's very funny. And it seems like I don't want to say he's taken this whole thing well. I mean, publicly, seems to be taking it as well as you possibly can when a top 3 player on the planet gets traded away from your team for no reason. But if I am Klay Thompson, I am a little bit like, hey man, 8 months ago, I had the opportunity to go to the Lakers and I chose you guys to play with this fucking fat Slovenian and he's not even here anymore. I don't know. Just a guy that I'm thinking about here. But the Lakers, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We all said it immediately after it happened that, like, dude, their timeline just got completely reset by this whole thing, like in the best way possible. You know what I mean? And then it started. That's exactly what it looks like is happening, that the Lakers, they just have more juice than they've had since the 2020 season. And then we're all like surprised, Pikachu, holy shit, look at the Lakers. Yeah, but we all said that this was going to happen, and then it just kind of did, you know? And we didn't really talk about I guess I didn't have an opportunity to talk about the Luka debut until today. And, you know, to be honest with you, I only watched the first quarter of it because A, he was on a minutes restriction, so it would have been useless to watch the whole game anyways. B, it was a 9:30 tip-off local time. You know what I mean? I can't stay up that late. Wow. But wow. Holy smokes. It's real. It's real. And there's that clip that's gone semi-viral of like JJ Redick looking at the bench and like laughing, and it almost comes off as like he like looks in Luka's direction on the bench and he starts laughing, and then he like kind of snaps out of it and like locks in. He remembers that he's a coach. I don't know what the name of the reporter was, but big shout out to the reporter who actually asked JJ about that moment. And it was like, hey, did you for real have like a pinch me, I must be dreaming moment on the bench, just like looking at Luka? Because that's what it looked like. And he was like, no, like Luka just said something that was legitimately stupid and I just thought it was funny. And then, you know, he's like, but sometimes I do actually kind of just in general have to remember that I'm the coach and I have to lock in. You want to talk about Kyrie kind of getting back in the good graces of just everybody. For me personally, I can't believe how cool I think JJ Redick is again. Because I didn't have a problem with him in the NBA. Everybody thought it was awesome. I'm a little bit too young to remember him at Duke. That was not something that was on my radar. I barely remember him playing in Orlando. But Lob City JJ Redick, pre-tattoos, was my main introduction to him, right? That's my real touchstone with him. I remember the one off season that he got a bunch of tattoos. He shows up in the regular season, he's got tattoos. This looks horrible, JJ Redick. And then it just kind of became who he was, right? But, then he gets into the media space, and I was pretty vocal about how he just rubbed me the wrong way all of the time. And which I learned was a very disagreeable take. People not really with me on that one. And then he gets into the NBA again, and he's a coach, and I'm like, ooh, wow, how's this going to go? Pretty well. Yeah, it's going pretty well. JJ Redick, pretty good coach. Big rah-rah guy. Guys really like him. Players respect him because a lot of the guys played against him. You know what I mean? JJ Redick, just a cool dude. Not really breaking any ground with that one, but, what else do we got, folks? A couple of you guys sent in an email about Jimmy Butler. I don't have too much to say on this one, but this one comes into us from Ryan. Ryan, welcome back to the show. Subject line, Jimmy Butler PoopGate. Greetings from Dallas. Ryan, welcome back to the show. Did I say that yet? Okay, since you cover the biggest stories and cover them from all angles, I'm curious to see your coverage of Jimmy Butler allegedly shitting himself in one of the first games of his Warriors career. Was this intentional on Jimmy's part? Did Draymond slip a laxative into Jimmy's Gatorade? Are the Silicon Valley lizard people involved somehow? Much love, Ryan. I love all of these theories. Laxative one seems to be the least likely. I hadn't considered that Jimmy Butler did this on purpose. By the way, he shit his pants. There's no alleged. That's what happened. If you haven't seen this, you haven't heard about this, there's a clip from the broadcast of the camera just pans down on the Jimmy Butler's ass and he pooped his pants. There's poop in his pants. And there's no way to refute it. That's just what it is. And some of you unwell actually bitches are going to go down to the comments. Oh, it's just this thing. I'm sure that it is. It's poop though, right? Why would Jimmy have done this on purpose? Was it to assert? Was it to assert was this an alpha thing? Was it to stand in solidarity with the unhoused in San Francisco? And he's like, I'm just like you. He's like, just because I signed a 2-year, $101 million extension, whatever it was, doesn't mean I can't shit my pants. He's like, I'm just like you, for real. I don't have that much on this. I just think it happened. I think it's funny that it happened. And for some reason, I wish I could give him shit for it, but I've never pooped my pants ever. And I have friends, and I have very, very close friends, and also my own brother, who have all pooped their pants in their adult lives, by the way. And they constantly, whenever something like this comes up, constantly accuse me of lying because I've never done it before. I believe one day it will. For sure. I don't know. It happens. Right? But I trust my body and I know what's what. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever even come close. I have one friend who just does it all the time. One time we were in school and he had to flush his underwear down the toilet because he just pooped his pants that bad. And I sat with him in the bathroom while he was in the stall. He was in there for 5 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing in there? He's like, dude, I've just been scooping it out this whole time. And I was like, you got to punt on those, brother. And so he did. And then he clogged the toilet. It was a whole thing. Homeroom hadn't even started yet. Dude, he shit his pants at 7 o'clock in the morning. And the whole day he just had to, and then it wasn't even Axe. What was the body spray 13 years ago? It wasn't Axe. It was Tag. Remember that? It was basically just Axe, but it was called Tag. It was just one of those spray-on deodorants, right? Or body sprays. Yeah, he just doused his pants with that, and so he just smelled like a high school freshman is really all that it was. Do you guys remember, this is coming to me in real time, do you remember Axe bombs? You get the can of Axe spray, and then you bang the nozzle on the ground or something on a hard surface, and so it doesn't jam, but it messes with it, and so then it's just constantly spraying, and you treat it like it's a fucking... That has to be a violation of the Geneva Conventions, is an Axe bomb. Because that's essentially tear gas. Which, isn't it fucked up that, I never thought about it this way. Maybe some of you are hip to this, and I'm going to say this, and you're going to be like, yeah, obviously, we all know that. I guess I knew this, I hadn't thought about this. So you can't use tear gas in war. People still do, but you're not allowed to use it because it's a war crime. But like American police, for example, can use it on citizens who are protesting. But you can't use it in war. Could you use an axe bomb? We have all this trench warfare happening in Eastern Europe right now, in Crimea and in, I guess Crimea is Ukraine, in Eastern Ukraine right now. I was watching something recently about the International Legion and how they navigate trench warfare and what those rotations are like. And so this is just coming to me in real time, and I'm just spitballing. They love those FPV drones, and they love drone drops and the grenades and just using them as kamikazes. Drop some axe. Drop some axe. Do that. What else do I got for you guys today? I took some notes, actually. I had a little itinerary that I was reading to you guys today. Or was going to... Shut up, Nick. Watched the Champions League the other day. Manchester City, Real Madrid. Woo! Woo! Holy smokes. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that I love a good matchup. You know that... I say that. What an asshole. I love matchups. No, I just, you see Erling Haaland and, Kylian Mbappe playing each other. I have to watch this. By my own approximation, as somebody who very, very casually watches European soccer, those are the two guys that to me, those are the best players in the world right there. I made a community post about this the other day. So this match is like premier shit, right? Like these are the two, this is a clash of the Titans. I'm so juiced to watch this game. First goal goes to Erling Haaland. Not offsides, by the way. His hand was offsides, but you can't score with your hand, so that doesn't count. Just a beautiful goal. And there's just nobody in Europe who can score a goal and get me more excited than Haaland. It doesn't matter how he does it. And most of the time, by the way, he does it the exact same fucking way. Because he won't even, take a touch. He'll just, I don't know, off the volley, he'll head some shit in, or what was that goal that he had maybe 2 years ago now against Borussia Dortmund, where he fucking kung fu kicked the ball on the outside of his boot? It was like a bike, but not at all. I don't know how, for those of you who know exactly what I'm talking about, that is the most spectacular goal I've ever seen in my life. Manchester City, Borussia Dortmund, Erling Haaland outside of his boot in the air, not kicking it in the soccer way, but just into this, the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. There's just nobody who does the shit that he does, and I love it so much, right? So he strikes first, and then later in that match, who was it? It was Mbappe. First two goals of this game are the reason that I'm watching it. The third goes to Haaland on a penalty, and I was like, dude, this is what it's all about. Manchester City, Real Madrid, the two premier players in Europe, are accounting for all of the scoring in this game. And by the way, Mbappe probably should have had 6 in this game. For one reason or another, he was out, his offsides or went off the pole or whatever it was. Mbappe in the first, opening minutes of the match spends 3 goddamn minutes tying his shoes. I was like, get up. The broadcasters were so funny. They were giving him shit for it. They're like, we'll wait for you, brother. Oh, no, we'll do this on your time. I swear he spent 3 minutes tying his shoes, and then stoppage time was 5 minutes, but then a dude also got hurt. The math just did not make any sense to me at all. So what ended up happening in this game? For Manchester City, the same thing that's happened all year, where they get out to a lead, and then they get terrified, and they poop their pants, and then they blow it. For one reason or another. Or they don't even have a lead in the first place, and we're 2 minutes into the game, and they let up a goal, and you're you dust in your hands. That's it for Man City, I guess. I don't understand what has happened to them this season specifically, where the second that Manchester City is playing in their half of the field, they're shaking in their boots. They get terrified and they're frazzled. They have no idea what to do. Now, look, I don't know really how to, and I'm not saying this to cover my own bases. I'm saying this very genuinely. I can't talk about soccer in like a super nuanced way. I genuinely just watch it because I have fun doing it. I'm not doing it to like, get some analytical shit off, right? Like the way that I would with like American football, where it's like real and it matters to me. I watch the Champions League and the Premier League on some like real for the love of the game shit, right? But it's very casual. It is very, very casual. And so the reason I'm saying this is like, dog, if I can tell, you know what I mean? If I can see what's going on here, then I can't imagine people who actually know. And then the last goal, we're in stoppage time for, I don't know, how much was it? Like 5 minutes of stoppage after the 90th. We're 3 minutes into that. Real Madrid scores again, tiebreaker over, Real Madrid up 3-2, and that's ended up being the final. Their keeper pissed me off. Another one of those instances of like, if I can see that something just happened here that was wrong, then I can't imagine people who actually know what's going on here, what they must be thinking. So and I don't remember who was kicking the ball, but Man City's keeper stops it with his chest and then starts hugging the pole and basically might as well have his hands in his damn pockets. And then Real off the damn rebound, just bap, opposite side of the net. That's a goal, and that's the game. For the most part, though, actually, Man City's keeper was awesome in this game. I thought he was pretty good. It's just that Manchester City's defense is horrible. And so this is where I get confused, right? If I'm a manager, don't explain to me why I'm wrong about this. Because Maddie, I don't think I've ever said this before. Maddie, my girlfriend, played a lot of soccer growing up. She was on a bunch of the like best clubs in Michigan. She was on a travel team where she went like all over the country playing, and she was a keeper, right? So whenever we watch soccer, I very much trust her opinion on this stuff. And I said to her, I'm like, if I'm the manager, I'm just going, what's the math on this? There are 11 on the field. So I would go 6-3-1. I would go 6-3-1. You're not scoring on us. You're not scoring on us at all. I'm going to spend 450 million pounds on the best striker you've ever seen in your life, Erling Haaland. And then I'm going to spend another 50 million on the best passing midfielder you've ever seen in your life. Who was the kid for Leicester? Was it Conte? A couple of years ago? What was that guy's name? I'm going to get him. And then I'm going to get the best keeper you've ever seen in your life. Well, let's just poach the guy from Man City. Let's just do that. Well, what's Tim Howard doing? I know he does TV now. You think Tim Howard still got a little bit of it? I'll give him 7 million pounds. He could be the goalie. I'm going 6-3-1 and you're not scoring on us. I don't know how we're going to score, but that's the way that I'm going to do it. People hate Manchester City. Holy smokes. Now, the reason that I like them is literally just because, well, dude, they just have so many guys that I'm like, oh, I know that guy. Oh, I know that guy. Hey, I know that guy. Hey, I know that guy. Luka Modric plays for Real Madrid since when? I had no idea. He checks into this game in the late stages, comes onto the field. I'm like, holy shit, that's Modric. I was like, is that the Croatian? Holy shit, that's awesome. Good for him. Isn't he like 100 years old? Is he never going to retire? Good for him. People hate Manchester City. If not just for a couple months ago, Erling Haaland being like, oh, be humble, be humble, be humble, to, was it Arsenal's manager? Unprompted, optically, kind of like a weird clip. Like, why did you say that to him? Had no reason to do that. And then wasn't it after that City ended up losing like 6 in a row? I don't think they lost 6 in a row. They just didn't get a winning outcome for 6 in a row is what it was. And now every time that City loses or draws or whatever it is, oh, be humble, be humble. I don't know. Wasn't it Arsenal, 2 weeks ago? What was the timeline on it? When did they last play? That as soon as the match was over the stadium loudspeakers, they started playing Humble by Kendrick Lamar. I was like, wow, okay, so they're just like straight up running with this. Is this funny to like people who really care, like Europeans and shit and elsewhere who are watching this? Is the be humble stuff funny? Because to me, it's annoying as somebody who like, I'm just kind of like, I get it, but I don't know if for people who are more nuanced about everything, I don't know if it's funnier to them. So if people don't hate them just for the Erling Haaland be humble thing, they hate them because I don't want to call them cheaters per se, but it's really the only way to describe it. I mean, like we have the Dodgers here in America there's no salary cap. They can spend as much money as they want. This shit is unregulated. They can do whatever they want. They can defer as much money as they want, and people are going to hate them. They're going to call them villains. They're not cheating, though. And so a little under 15 years ago, Manchester City sucks. And then the Premier League institutes, is it FFP, financial fair financial play, something like that? And you are only allowed to spend as much as you earn. As much as your club's revenue is, you can spend up to that much. And so then Manchester City, and you guys can fill in the blanks here where I'm wrong, So Manchester City gets this new shiny Saudi Arabian owner, Sheikh Mensa? It's Vic Mensa. Vic Mensa, owner of Manchester City. They start doing like sports washing shit. That's all that it is. And so they sign these super lucrative advertisement deals, whether it's the patches on the jerseys or whether it's on the, logos on the actual stadium, like around the actual stadium, right? And they're also like forging some numbers, and there are a bunch of emails that got hacked, and a bunch of information came out about like how they're actually doing this. And so we learned, what was it, in 2024, I think Manchester City, their revenue, I believe, was over $1 billion. And if it wasn't over $1 billion, and I'm thinking of somebody else, then I do know for a fact, at the very least, that they were the most quote-unquote profitable team in the Premier League. And so that's what allows them to spend as much money as they do every single season, which is, I guess, why it's so shocking that they suck all of a sudden, right? Because it's like you spent all of this money. And then it's that same ownership group that they have like a whole network. They got clubs all over there, America, South America, damn China, in other parts of Europe. They got them in Africa, all over the place. And they're all just like farm teams for Manchester City. And so how am I doing with this? Am I on base? Am I off base? So people hate Manchester City because they just spent out the ass. They cheat in order to do it. And then there was a whole thing. So there's like, oh, maybe we'll give them a points deduction if we find them guilty. As far as I'm aware, they've been found guilty of doing this like financial manipulation. We give them a points deduction. Oh, okay. You're going to ban them from the Premier League? You're not going to do that. They're not going to get the death penalty. That's not going to happen. So that's kind of, I guess, maybe where a question is for me is like, so what then? So, you know what I mean? So like, so then what is this? And how do you fix this? Also, if Erling Haaland leaves the Premier League and goes back to like the Bundesliga or something, I'm never going to watch him again. With all due respect, I'm never going to watch it again. Or him specifically. That's going to break my heart. Also, I wish he would just play for England. I understand, heritage, whatever, that he would rather play for Norway. But isn't he allowed to play for England? And he just doesn't? Didn't he have like 10 goals? Was it 8 or... It's 9 goals. He had 9 goals as like a 17-year-old for Norway. 9 goals? 9 goals, however many years ago that was. 9 goals? For Norway? He's the best player I've ever seen in my life. I've never felt so like, dude, this sport is awesome than when I watch him. And he doesn't even do anything crazy. He doesn't have like these crazy handles. He's just bigger than everybody. He's bigger than everybody. He's stronger than everybody. He's like Giannis to me. They are like the same thing. How people are like, oh, Giannis, the run and dunk man. Dog, Erling Haaland is the run and kick the ball man. That's all that he does. But he rules. He rules. And meanwhile, I'm watching Leicester every single week suck. They're probably going to get relegated. They lost to Manchester. They lost to United a week ago. They lose 2-1. And it was it a free kick that United ended up scoring? They broke the equalizer. They go up 2-1. Half of their fucking team was offsides. Half of the team was offsides. Didn't get called. I don't know how Leicester is supposed to... I know that didn't count for the Premier League stand. Was it the FA Cup? Is that what that was? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're going to get housed this week. They're probably going to get housed, and their next 3 matches are just brutal. If they get 1 point, I'll be happy. People on Reddit are like, maybe they'll get 9. I think they're being ironic. I don't think they're being serious. But I also can't discern. There's a way that Europeans type that just confuses me sometimes. 9 points would be cool, but you're not beating, I don't know, who is it? Is it Arsenal or Liverpool? We're playing one of them. You got to play West Ham. Maybe that's 1 point. Who cares? Who cares? Leicester is not. Jamie Vardy's going to go out. And then I'm not going to know why I even support Leicester anymore. Well, okay, when they get relegated, not if they get relegated, when that happens, I need to figure out who I'm going to watch in the Premier League. Off the top of my head, who's another blue team? Because that's always what I'm not rooting for Chelsea. I'm not rooting for Everton. Oh, and then Everton gets into a fight with, was it Liverpool? Or was it Arsenal? They just got into a fight the other day, but no, they didn't. A water bottle got thrown onto the field. One of the players was celebrating in front of Everton's fans. And, a little bit of a scuffle. It's not a fight. Put Isaiah Stewart out on the pitch and I'll show you a motherfucking fight. Shut up. That was not a fight. I'm not rooting for Everton. I'm not rooting for Brighton. Newcastle, no. Wolves, gross. Aren't they in relegation territory anyways? West Ham, no. United, no. City, no. I can't do that. I can't. Even I won't stoop that low. Love a lot of their guys, but I'm not gonna do it. Let's put a pin in that. Maybe I'll just do Liverpool or Arsenal, so that way I can be that. There it is. Maybe if I just root for Arsenal, then I can join the be humble train. Okay, but I don't want to do that. Maybe just pick. Shout out to Mo Salah. I don't know. Maybe I'll just root for Liverpool, or maybe. Oh! Here it is. Leicester, they get Rashford on a transfer, and then I'm spending way too goddamn long talking about something that I don't know. I'm so scared to listen back to this, and I might have to with this specific segment because I might have to fact check myself. No, I'm just gonna full send it. I don't care. What else do I got for you guys today? That might be it. Yeah, that's probably a good place to end it. Spotify listeners, I love you. Weren't expecting that, were you? You were expecting a question. I love you. Straight up, Spotify. Maybe that's our new thing. Maybe every episode, I just tell you guys that I love you. And I'm not getting down on one knee right now, Spotify listeners. You are still allowed to listen to other people and, do other programs. But I'm going to be in the chair in the corner watching you listen to those people. And I'm going to enjoy it because I just want you to have a good experience. And I'm in this for you more than I'm in it for myself. And if you want to listen to other podcasts, that's fine. But just know that I love you and I'm doing this because I love you. Right? So, Spotify listeners, love you. You don't have to say it back. Don't say it back if you don't mean it, okay? Apple Podcasts. What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary check. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.